Hey there, welcome back. Today we are going to be working on the little bee for our wind spinner. So this is part 2 of the wind spinner tutorial. You could make this bee without the wind spinner, of course, but if you're wondering why the video is labeled part 2, it's because part 1 was where we made this wind spinner. So this is my example. I just have it here. And then I've got the wind spinner that I made in that video ready to go. So what you're going to need to make the little bee is some yellow yarn. All of the yarn I'm using is from Hobby Lobby. So this is just straightforward in the color yellow. The other two I don't have labels for, but I believe this is called white metallic, and then I've got black metallic. And then you are going to need some kind of light pink yarn if you want him to have little cheek blush. And the yarn I'm using for that is a little different. I don't have the label. All I know is that it is also from Hobby Lobby, and it looks like this. Mine is in a little bit of a mess right now, but it's kind of a velvety yarn, and it's a bit thicker than the acrylic yarn. You will need some safety eyes also. I do not know what size I used, but it's up to you if you want big, small, whatever size you want. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter hook. You'll need a yarn needle and some scissors. So let's get started. So I found the eyes that I did use, and they are this big, and then next to a dime. I don't know if that helps at all, but that's the best I can show you. But of course, you can use whatever size you want or prefer. So let's get started. You're going to start with your yellow yarn, and we're going to make a magic ring. And you're just going to make 6 single crochet into that magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then just pull your ring tight. And I'm going to worry about fastening mine secure in a little bit. So once you have your 6 single crochet in your magic ring, you're going to do a round of increases. So that means that you're going to put 2 single crochet into each of the previous stitches. And I did forget to mention you're going to need a stitch marker of some kind. So round 2, 2 single crochet into each of the previous single crochets. So that's the first one, and I am going to insert my stitch marker into that first single crochet. Oops. And then I'm just going to do 2 in each stitch all the way around. So at the end of that round, you should have 12 single crochet. So take out your stitch marker, and in the next round, round 3, you're going to make 1 single crochet into that first stitch. Put your stitch marker back in. You're going to make 2 single crochet in the next stitch. One single crochet in the next, and 2 in the one after that. And you're just going to repeat that pattern all the way around. And then at the end of that round, you should have 18 single crochet. For round 4, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch. Put your stitch marker back so you don't lose that spot. You're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 in the next. and then 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 in the next. And you'll repeat that all the way around. And at the end of round 4, you should have 24 single crochet. Now we're on to round 5. And you're going to make 3 single crochet and then an increase. 1 single crochet in the first 3 stitches and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, and increase. And then you're just going to repeat that all the way around. Okay, so at the end of round 5, you should have 30 single crochets. Now for round 6 through 8, you're just going to make 30 single crochets all the way around. And don't forget to move your stitch marker. So complete your 3 rows of 30 single crochets, and I will meet you for round 9. Okay, so I am at the end of round 8, and I am getting ready to finish my last single crochet. But instead of finishing the stitch with yellow, I'm going to grab my black. So I'm just going to pull my black through to finish that stitch. And I'm going to leave the yellow attached and just carry it up as I go. You're not going to see it because it's on the inside of the bee. For rounds 9 and 10, we're going to do 30 single crochet with the black yarn. So just 2 rounds with the black. And when you've finished your 2 rounds, I will show you what to do next. So I'm at my last stitch of round 10, and I'm just going to use my yellow, just like before, to finish that stitch. I'm going to pull it up a bit because we're going to work on the face. So now would be a good time to secure your magic ring and weave in your end, and I'm going to do that really quick off camera, and then I'll show you how I do my face. Okay, I've got my magic ring secured. I didn't cut it, I just leave it in there because you're not going to see it. And then where we have been alternating the colors, that's going to be the bottom of your bee, so just try to be mindful of that when you're placing your eyes and the rest of the facial features. So on this bee, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. I put the eyes between round 4 and 5, and I made it about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches apart. So I'm going to try to just mimic that the best I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to stick one here. I just roughly stick them and then decide if I like them. I look at it a few times. That doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty similar. I think this one's further spaced. So I'll just move this one over. And I like how that looks. So I think I'm just going to stick with that. And then I'm going to grab the backs for my eyes and place them on. I really need to invest in one of those tools that helps you put safety eyes on because I struggle. My eyes are on. And now I'm going to work on his little cheeks. So I'm just going to grab my yarn. You can use any yarn you want for this. You could use scrap yarn, acrylic yarn. Like I said, this yarn is somewhat thicker. And I just like to get a decent sized piece so that I can do 2 cheeks with the same piece and not have to have multiple strands of yarn used. It's just a little bit easier. So you're just going to thread it through your needle, and then once you have your yarn threaded, you're just going to put it wherever you like. So I go from back to front, so I'll insert it. I like to start under the eye, and then I'll just pull it through, and I will leave somewhat of a tail so that I have enough to tie to the other side. And then I go up a few stitches, and I kind of like how that is. And then I just repeat that process until it looks like there's enough of that. So I've done it, I believe, 3 times now, and I like how that looks. So I think I'm going to stick with that side and say I'm done. And then I just go to the other side and try my best to make it look like it's coming out about the same placement as the other side. I know it can be tricky, so just try your best. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's what makes them special. No two are exactly the same. And then I just do the same thing. Repeating that same process. So I believe I need to do that one more time. Okay, and so those are his little blushy cheek pieces. And then I'm just going to remove my needle. Cut this a little bit because I did leave quite a bit of a tail. And then I just tie those 2 ends together on the inside. And I've never had a problem with them becoming unsecure or anything like that. My yarn is splitting so bad. So I just tie a little knot and leave it on the inside. And those are his little cheeks. I don't know what's happening here. I'll just trim that. And then if you wanted to make a mouth, you could. I did not on this one, so I'm just going to do the same thing and not do it on this one. So let's continue. So we're just gonna pull this back tight to our hook, and we are on round 11. So you're just gonna push that black strand out of the way because we don't need it right now. And we are going to do 30 single crochet around for rounds 11 and 12. And you're going to be using yellow. So 30 single crochet for 2 rounds. And when you're done, I will meet you back for row 13. All right, I am at the end of round 12, and just like before, I am going to use my black to finish off the last stitch. And for rounds 13 and 14, you are going to do another 30 single crochet all the way around. And I will meet you back when it's time to do round 15. All right, I am on my last stitch of round 14. And just like we've been doing, I'm going to use the yellow to finish it off. And at this point, you can cut your black yarn, just leave a little bit of a tail. I like to crochet over my tail end. You can do the same, or you can weave it in however you prefer. And now for rounds 15 and 16, we're going to do the same thing, 30 crochet all the way around. And after these 2 rows, we will be starting our decreases. So do 2 rounds of 30 single crochet, and then I will show you how to start decreasing. Okay, I've just completed round 16, and now we're going to start decreasing. So you're going to do 3 single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. Oops. And you're just going to do that all the way around for this entire round. 3 single crochet and then a decrease. So at the end of row 17, you should have 24 single crochet, and this would be a good time to start stuffing your bee. I just like to put little pieces in instead of doing a giant clump, because I found that it helps to shape the bee better, or any kind of amigurumi better. So I'm going to stop there for now. And now we are moving on to round 18. And you are going to do 2 single crochet, 1, 2, put my stitch marker in. Oops. So 2 single crochet and then a decrease, and you will continue that all the way around this entire round. Okay, and then you can just stuff as you go at this point, so that you're not trying to shove your stuffing into a very tiny hole at the end. And for round 19, we're going to do 1 single crochet followed by a decrease all the way around. And at the end of round 19, you should have 12 stitches. I'm just adding more stuffing. And now we're on our final round, which is all decreases. So you're going to complete 6 decreases all the way around. You will end up with you'll end up with 6 stitches at the end. And then I will show you how I like to fasten off. So I'm making my final decrease, and I am going to pull a bit of a tail, cut my yarn, remove my hook, and just pull the yarn tail through. And then you will need your yarn needle, and you will thread it through. And then I like to weave in and out of my stitches. So the one we just completed, we're going to go into the next one from back to front. And that's 1. And then in the next one, front to back, 2. Just do that all the way around. That's 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you just pull tight. And then I like to make a knot somewhere. And then I'll just weave it in. So you can weave your tail in however you want, but that's how I close my little bee up. So once you've woven your little tail through, just cut your yarn. And that's our little bee body. So now we're going to move on to the wings. And for that, I'm using some white metallic. And I'm still using my 3.5mm hook. For the wings, they are actually little hearts, if you didn't already notice that. And we're going to start with a magic ring. And from there, you're going to chain 3. And inside your ring, you're going to make 3 triple crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. And once you have 3 triple crochet, you are going to make 3 double crochet. 1, oops, 2, 3, and you're going to chain 1 and make another triple crochet. And that's our halfway point. So we're just going to mirror everything we did for the other side. You're going to chain 1 and make 3 double crochet. And then 3 more triple crochet. Chain 3 and slip stitch into the magic ring. Pull up a long, semi-decent tail. Mine is about 7 inches. You're going to just pull your tail through, pull your ring tight, and then I flip it over so I'm looking at the back of my heart, and I make a knot with the 2 tails. I pull them quite tight so that the knot kind of sinks down and is hidden between those 2 chain 3s, so you can't even see that knot I made. And then I'll take one of my ends, and thread it through my yarn needle. Split my yarn. I hate that. So thread it through my needle and just weave it through the back. However, just so that it's hidden. And I just try to go under the stitches. I crocheted pretty tight, so it's kind of hard right now. But that's about all I do. It doesn't come undone. It's not like these are going to be played with. And I'll leave this one for now, just in case. And then you're going to make another one, same way, but for the second one, leave yourself a longer tail. I'm going to say give yourself a roughly 12 to 15 inch tail before you cut your yarn. So I've got my second heart. I've just slip stitched into the center, and like I said, I'm going to leave a pretty long tail just so that I know I have enough to work with. You're just going to pull it through, tighten your ring, and do the same thing. Flip your heart over so you're looking at the back, and just tie a knot with your ends. And with that shorter tail, you are going to weave that one in. So for that first heart we did, you can actually weave in the other tail. We don't need to work with that at all. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, now we're going to secure our wings together before we secure them to the bee. So you're going to take your super long tail from that last wing we did. You're going to thread your needle so it's on your heart, and you're first going to weave the tail in and through the heart and bring it out the center point so that we can secure the 2 wings together. So I just weave mine under the stitches, down through the bottom, and I pull it out the center point. And then you're just going to lay it with your other wing, and you're going to go through that center stitch at the bottom of the heart and just stitch those together. I think this is called a whip stitch. I don't know my stitch terminology when it comes to sewing, but you're going to do that just a few times so that you know your wings are secured together. And once you've got them pretty secure, I go through about 3 or 4 times just to be sure. So I've got mine secured together. I'm just going to push my needle through the middle and pull it out so that my yarn tail is coming through the back. And then we're going to secure the wings on where rounds 11 and 12 are. So just place them on for now to get an idea. Try to make them as centered as possible. And then what I like to do is take my yarn needle, and this looks like the center to me, so I'm just going to go down and through like that. So I'm going underneath those 2 rounds, or the stitches from those 2 rounds, and just pull it tight. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lift the wings, go down through that same stitch. If you have a better way you'd like to secure them, you can always do that. You don't have to secure them the way I'm doing it. This is just what I found works for me. And I just do that a few times. Oops. So once your wings are secure, you want to pull that pretty tight. I like to go through anywhere, honestly. You can just go through here, just so that now your tail is coming through the top. And now we're going to attach it to our wind spinner. So grab your wind spinner. I still need to weave that tail in. And at the bottom point of your wind spinner, where your wind spinner ends, you are going to attach this yarn tail. And that's why I said to leave a decent long tail. See if I could show you a little better. It depends how low you would like your bead to be hanging. This one is about a 4-inch little tail that I've got, so I'm going to just try my best to do that as close to it as I can. So I just do the same thing. I weave my tail, around that stitch a few times, and then I will make a knot by going through like that, because you only want one little string to be here. You do not want both parts of your tail. So once you've made your knot, you can then just weave the rest of the tail in to the flower part of your wind spinner. And you can do more knots if you don't think it's secure enough. I haven't had an issue with just doing one knot. And I just go back and forth, up and down the stitches. And I'll go back up one more time, and then I will cut my yarn tail. Okay, and now I'm just going to cut my tail. And that is the end of our wind spinner officially, part 1 and 2. So that's the little bee. I hope you enjoyed making this with me. And if you are making a wind spinner, I would love to see it. You can leave a picture in my community tab on my YouTube channel as long as you're a subscriber. And you can also email me a photograph. You don't have to. I just think it would be really fun to see other color variations of this or other ways that you decide to tweak it. And next week we will be working on this little guy. So that's just a heads up. Subscribe if you don't want to miss making this little bee swinger. He's very cute. I made this for a friend who requested it. I think she's going to be hanging it from her car mirror. So that's what we'll be making next week. But I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.